Howdy everybody, this is Omar, your audio amigo, back with another episode of Thrifty Tunes. Today we're going to be looking at the new budget set from our friends over at KZ. This is the EDC Pro. So, in their lineup, the EDC Pro sits in the EDC series, which is just above the EDX series in terms of price. And this being the Pro model, it sits above the normal EDC and the EDC-X. This was released for $12 to $15-ish, depending on where you looked. KZ themselves has, let's go ahead and say, a storied and tumultuous history. They used to be the sort of ambassador brand for people that were new to the chi-fi space, but they've made some questionable PR choices and been involved in a couple of controversies in the past couple of years, and I think it's fair to say that the reputation, at least from within the hobby, has taken a pretty huge hit. So let's see if this set can earn them some goodwill. We'll start with packaging. KZ's packaging has always been very minimalistic, and this being one of their ultra budget sets, you get the most basic form of packaging. It's a plastic tray. Inside you find the IEMs, the classic KZ Tagliatelle cable, and 3 sets of the ubiquitous KZ Starline silicone tips. Classic KZ, they make small, featureless boxes because they're cheaper to ship, cheaper to store, and pass that savings on to you. So let's start with the cable. I have never cared for what I call the KZ Tagliatelle style cable. You can get 2 different cable choices with this one. There's the standard copper Tagliatelle and there's the silver Tagliatelle. I personally don't see any difference between them. Get whichever one's cheapest for you. They don't feel good to handle. They misbehave like crazy. I tried to make them look nice for the filming, and it just sprung out as soon as I Rody wrapped it. Yeah, there's no chin slider. At least on this one, you don't have to separate the individual wires yourself. I've had cables from KZ and even some other brands where they're bound up to this point, and in order to actually get a functional Y split, you have to tear the cable apart yourself. So 3.5 millimeter on one end with actually some pretty cool looking, there we go, some pretty cool looking KZ branding on the tip. And on the other end, you get QDC. But the interesting thing about this is it's the sort of recessed QDC. So if you look in there, okay, it's a QDC connector, but it's sort of pushed into the shell. This means that you can use aftermarket cables that are normal 2-pin. So this is a blind bag nice HCK cable that I got for $5 in the blind bag on AliExpress, and normal 2-pin connector with a sort of box recessed QDC, and difficult to do this while looking through the viewfinder. There you go. It fits. And it's not bad. I feel like if you use a normal 2-pin cable on a normal QDC, the stick-up area is sort of a weak point for it, and you have more of a fulcrum point. But because this is recessed, you have a bit more of a positive connection there, and I feel much more confident in that than a normal QDC. So recessed QDC is, I got these tangled up. Recessed QDC is better than regular QDC. Still would prefer 2-pin, but at this price point, you're going to get this type of cable. Doesn't really matter. So, build quality. In my opinion, this is standard KZ build quality. You've got injection molded resin shells. Okay, you've got 2 breather holes, one right above the driver and one over there next to the connector. You've got a mesh grill on the nozzle. Decent top plate. They feel smooth, nice in the hands. They're not heavy. I've seen reports of, KZ's been in the business a long time. I've seen reports of KZ sets having cracked resin, breaking at the connectors. But like I said, this isn't a typical QDC. This is recessed, and I think this will be more durable than normal QDC. So these haven't been on the market long enough for reliability reports, but like with most entry-level sort of resin sets, just be a bit careful with it. Overall, pretty good build quality for the price. All right, bam, specs on the screen. So these are pretty typical for KZ's single DDs. I couldn't find data on the size of the driver, but if it matches the original EDC, then it's a 10mm unit. The nozzles on these are fairly small, so choose replacement ear tips carefully. Again, I had a few occasions where my spin fits got left behind in my ears or came off while I was taking them off. But again, shouldn't be a problem with properly sized tips, so just keep those measurements in mind if you're going to be upgrading these with aftermarket tips. Like most KZs, these are extremely sensitive with low impedance, so these will run out of anything, phones, laptops, tablets. I have had a bit of noise on some older sources with these, so like my old iPod 5th gen, my Walkman, my Minidisc player, there's a bit of noise with no music playing, but as soon as the music starts, the noise is gone and they sound fine, so don't worry too much about that. But let's see where these go on the cool wall. So KZ has some of the cooler looking budget sets in my opinion. Their industrial design has always been pretty good. They put a lot of thought into their top plates, but these aren't anything super special. They're basically the normal EDC plates, just with a mirror finish and the writing on them. The reflective metal with the branding engraved is nice, but despite that, considering the look of other KZ sets with the metal shells and the cool colors, I'm going to put these in bland. I can see people really liking that mirror finish. Speaking of people, let's see what the council has to say. So, looks like mixed opinions on these. A few mehs in there, a couple I like it and don't like it. No compliments for friends on these. No color options means that we go straight to the opinions, which are mediocre across the board, I would say. These aren't really anything to write home about in terms of looks. But moving on to comfort, these are fantastic. Small nozzles, lightweight, smooth shape. There's no bumps or dips that put pressure on my ear, and the nozzle is shaped well enough for me to get a good seal. No issues wearing these for long Euro truck sessions while listening to podcasts or music. They super easily pass my wife's tiny ears test as well. Small nozzles are fantastic with her tiny ear tips. The shape work well for her. Comfort is good across the board, and these should be a safe buy for basically anybody, even if you have really small ears. Okay, time to get into how these sound. So, you hear the words KZ, or you hear the name KZ and you think V-shape. And these are V-shape. But unlike most KZ sets, they've stomped down on that V-shape and mellowed it out a bit. These were more balanced than I was expecting. We'll start with bass. Sub-bass extension, great, like on most KZs. The mid-bass is elevated, it's boosted. These are super fun. Bass drops hit. They sound like a fun V-shaped bass shelf. Creepy Nuts' new hit, Bling Bang Bang Born, really hits nice, has those really fun drops. Super, super fun to listen to on these. Bass guitar is also fun and present thanks to that mid-bass boost. The Rush's YYZ, that bass line throughout the whole song, especially at the beginning when it's by itself. Fun, funky. This is fun bass. This is really fun bass. It's not full bass head. Okay, I wouldn't call these a bass head set, but they're getting close, and these are a lot of fun. Bass presentation is fun. Mids, again, V-shaped set. The mids take a back seat. That's the case here. At low volumes especially, the mids tend to get a bit overpowered by the highs and lows. I heard it the most in Rolling Stone's Paint It Black. During the verses, there's a walking bass line going on, and there's some higher bass guitar notes in there, and some of those I feel like get drowned out or lost. There's a whole lot going on in the mix in that song, and I feel like the instruments tend to step on each other a little bit. Again, especially at lower volumes, because of that sub-bass boost. Female vocals are mostly fine due to that sub-bass boost. Some singers can come across a bit darker or huskier than normal. It doesn't ruin the vocals in my opinion, but it does give them a bit of a color, so if you don't like that, maybe stay away from this. Britney Spears in Toxic sounded pretty clean. The lower notes in some sections had a bit of a darker sheen to them, but nothing, like I said, nothing too bad. Overall, clean mids, especially for a V-shaped KZ set. I feel like these are some of the better done mids in a V-shaped KZ at this price. Moving on to upper mids and treble. The typically shrill, sort of borderline fatiguing, harsh KZ treble has been toned down a good amount for this set. One of my harshness tests is deadmau5's Strobe. At the very beginning, there's some notes moving back and forth across your ears, And on sets with overblown upper mids and treble, that intro, even at like middle to low volume, can get pretty fatiguing. And that's not the case here. My only real complaint with the treble is that the upper treble is a bit washy. It's nothing too horrendous. There's a bit of extra energy up there that kind of affects the percussion, but by now y'all know I'm super picky with cymbals and hi-hats. Heard it most on Wink's cover of Kylie Minogue's Turn Into Love, which is a classic. It has just the slightest bit of off tonality to the cymbals. It doesn't ruin the replay, but if you really listen to it, it's there. It's, like I said, the only real flaw with the treble presentation on these, in my opinion. But you know how picky I am with percussion. So, technicalities. Thanks to that sub-bass boost, the low-end technical stuff is here, and it's pretty well audible. Buster Williams' version of Sophisticated Lady has some absolutely stellar bass guitar, finger detail, and string rumble that works really well on this set. High-end details are there, but due to the scooped mids and the sort of washy top end, you lose a little bit. So Chris Thiel's mandolin work in his duet Independence Day has all the great mandolin string dynamics that you would expect, as well as a really satisfying sound to the sound when his fingers hit the strings when he's strumming in some of the sections. But you will miss out on some of the little fingernail sounds, especially at low volumes. Overall, for the price, good technicals, nothing super standout, but I also don't feel like I'm missing anything crucial or necessary in songs. Again, you know, not a technical tour de force or, you know, a mind-blowing technicals, but these are good drivers. They do, excuse me, they do good work. Moving on to stereo separation, it's good. I'm not going to do Mediterranean Sundance this time. I'm going to do Charles Mingus's Eat That Chicken. It's an older recording, whole lot of stuff going on in both ears. People talking, people playing their instruments, moving in and out of the mix. And yeah, everyone has plenty of room to do their thing. It works well. The soundstage, I would say, is about average. Tiny bit of front to back action going on in the live action version of Waltz for Debbie by the Bill Evans Trio. Bass guitar sounds like it's coming from slightly behind the drums, and the piano in the right ear sounds like it's also coming from behind you as well. Not super far back, not super far forward, nothing too stellar, but again, at this price range, not bad. So, let's get into some comparisons. When I listened to these at first, I'm like, oh, okay, these sound a lot like these two sets. So we'll start with the 7Hz 02. Okay. So these also have that sort of fun boosted sub bass and bass, not to the extent of the EDC, but as far as overall tuning and bass fun goes, I would say these are equally as fun as the EDCs in the bass department. These aren't as V-shaped as the EDC Pros. These are more of a warm neutral than the EDC Pros V-shape. And because of that, the mids are much better on this. In terms of overall detail, these win. In terms of percussion, it doesn't have that extra washiness, so overall, these win. I'm not a huge fan of the cable in the 02 either. I think it's mildly trash, but you know, I would take this cable over this cable, but you know, there's no real cable winners here. Neither of them comes with a pouch or a case either. The other one that had a sort of similar sound to these, and I know y'all are getting tired of seeing these, is the Moondrop Chu 2. Yes, again, the Chu are similar to the EDC Pro. These are what I would call a very mild V-shape, but they're definitely V-shaped. It's nowhere near as prominent as the Chu. You've got much less of a bass boost in the sub bass on these than on the EDC Pro, but you trade that boosted, fun, bassy sound for a much clearer, more prominent mid-range and a, in my opinion, cleaner top end. They have the nicest cable of the three. They have those metal shells that I will keep talking about, and they come with a little carry pouch. Looking at all three of these together, in terms of fun, you know, throw on a fun track, EDCs win. But I feel like the 02 let you have a similar amount of fun, you know, very, very close to that fun, but with less overall compromise to the sound signature. The Chus 2 are still fun, but of the three, they're the better all-rounders. They're the more shuffle safe of the three. but the EDC are definitely competitive with these two, especially at the price that they're at. So take these away and rate these on my arbitrary Audio Amigo rating scale. So this was a tough one. I listened to them for a couple of days and they really impressed me. It's felt like KZ has been held back by two things in the past. You've got their tuning and their driver quality. And the EDC Pro goes a long way to basically fix those two problems. This is a good driver with pretty good tuning at a very aggressive price. I feel like KZ came out swinging with this one, and those punches are definitely landing, especially for the more budget-constrained buyers. Yeah, the 02 are more resolving and are just as much fun with less compromise, but they're $10 more. And at this end of the market, that $10 is a 66% price increase. Are the 02s 66% better? I mean, it depends on your budget. The Chu 2 are a bit more of a problem because they're only $4 more, but they're really a different sound. It's more balanced, it has better accessories, but these are more fun. If you're looking for something fun, these are kind of it. And after listening to them for several days with my library and enjoying myself, these are going to go in the but I like it tier. These have some upward potential. I'll talk about that in the recommendation section. Do I recommend these? 100%. If you're looking for a fun V-shaped sound signature done well, this is a good choice, especially at 15 bucks. Again, to my ears, yeah, I would take the 02. But when your headphone budget is in the $15 range, that extra 10 bucks is a lot of money. The Chu 2, like I said, with their $19 price tag, again, to my ears, they're better, they're worth the extra $4. But if you want something V-shaped and fun, I think this is a great choice at 15 bucks. But here's where that upward potential I talked about comes in. So, I don't know if they're always available for this price, but I did not pay $15 for these. I got these on AliExpress, shipped to my door for $9. And at that price, I think these are an absolutely insane value. Okay, we're talking less than $10 for a set that is competing with $20, $30 sets. At $15, I would recommend this to people who want a more mature, fun V-shaped sound and are under a strict budget and can't afford any more than this. But at $9, this is a no-brainer. Under $10, these are the most balanced, well-rounded set that I've heard. And these are my current ultra-budget IEM of choice. If you really can't afford anything more than $9, $10, get these on sale at AliExpress. When I rate IEMs on my arbitrary scale, I consider them at MSRP because sale prices are extremely fickle. If your headphones break and you need another pair, you might not always be able to get them on sale, especially on AliExpress because you have to wait for the shipping. So on my rating scale, I only look at them at MSRP. If KZ had set the MSRP for these at $8, $9, these would have easily been in This Is Brilliant, and maybe even would have wound up in You Should Buy These just because they're so cheap. So yeah, I mean, it looks like KZ's kind of getting their groove back. I'm happy. Competition drives prices down. I know a lot of people still hate KZ, but yeah, as long as you're making good products, like as long as you've shown that you've learned from your past, I tend to forgive things. It's nice to have a budget KZ set that I could recommend to people who come in and are like, what's the best sounding KZ set for like under $15? It's good to have. It's a fun V-shape. But that being said, that'll do it for me. Thank you all for your patience. Like I said, I like to listen to these for a couple days before I put my review out. It lets my brain burn in, and I use it as my only IEM for a day or two, and then I do comparison listening so that I can see the ins and outs of different things. And yeah, so thanks for your patience. That's going to do it for me. I hope you all enjoyed the video. As always, if there's an IEM you'd like to see get the Thrifty Tunes treatment, let me know down in the comments. I appreciate all your support. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Omar with Audio Amigo Reviews, and I'll catch y'all next time.